Good evening to anyone that's watching this on this side of the world, and good morning if you're coming to us live from somewhere other than the Southern Hemisphere. I want to just say a quick hello to everyone. I've got a couple of different platforms that I'm streaming into live this evening. One being my own profile page, two being the Live Your Empowered Resolution group here on Facebook as well, and then three live in or on our YouTube channel. So if you're hearing me for the first time, hi, my name is YTLL. I'm the founder of the Y Project and a transformation leader, facilitator, coach. I have the pleasure of speaking to a very good friend of mine, virtually on my right, on the other side of the world, who is joining me. Her name is Kash, and I'm going to have her introduce herself to you in just a moment. If you're tuning into this series for the first time, the aim of this series was for me to, firstly, get to have some amazing conversations with some super powerful women, but also it was for others to hear the stories of what I believe to be everyday women. So women we might not otherwise hear from, who is kicking goals in her corner of the universe, and hear a little bit about, why she's arrived where she has at this particular time, and some of the work that she may be doing. But it was also because I believe that through listening to other people's stories, we're able to connect. And through that connection, it might help us on a day where we might need it. So I'm going to hand over to Kash in just a moment. But as always, I would like to pay tribute and respect to the traditional landowners of the area that I live in here in Melbourne, the Wurundjeri tribe of the Kulin Nation. Pay respects to their elders past, elders present, and what I believe to be just as important, their emerging leaders of tomorrow. Now, without further ado, Kash, I'm so happy. Thank you so much, my friend, firstly, for joining me this evening. Well, evening for me.
Morning for me.
Yes. So would you take a moment, my friend, as always, I've had the different guests introduce themselves, and I'd love for you to share who you are with everyone today.
Well, thank you, Y, for having me. I've known you for a while now, and I love the fact that as the sun is setting where you are in the world, the sun is waking up where I am. I have my coffee. You're lucky I got my makeup on this morning. It becomes this beautiful, circle of life whenever we chat at different times of the day. Thank you for having me. As Y said, my name is Kashish Parikh-Chopra. Great for you. You do not need to learn how to say or spell my name. Everyone just calls me Kash. And I'm going to be a little cliche right now. I'm a coach, like so many people on all these different, streams, and why you and I run in some of the same circles. But my specialty is very particular. My journey is very particular. I work with early stage female entrepreneurs and traders, and I help people get back quality time in their life. That sounds like a great concept. It might even sound easy. But in my experience, my personal experience and how I got into this, too many people, like myself, waste too much time in their life, are becoming slaves to their time in their life. Their time runs everything rather than us running our time. And I started getting obsessed with how do you live this quality of life? The idea of quality work-life balance was this buzzword that I heard all the time. I'm a former practicing attorney. I was chasing this work-life balance idea. And then I realized, wow, this is just a unicorn. No offense if you believe in unicorns, but I realized there has to be this different way. We always hear about how do you get out of the rat race? How do you get out of the hamster wheel? How do you find your ideal perfect life? And I became the cliche burnt out serial entrepreneur who felt that if I worked harder, I'd get richer. That was a total lie for myself. I started getting, Y knows, I just tell it like it is. There's no sense in circumventing it. I became pissed off and frustrated because I felt that people were working less hard than me and benefiting more. I was jealous that people were enjoying their quality of life when I thought I was not enjoying mine. And I thought that I wasn't reaping enough benefits. I'll just say it like it is. I thought that my life wasn't what it should be, even though I was checking off all the boxes of what success should mean. Everyone in my life thought I was successful. I thought I was successful, but I certainly wasn't happy. And I had this really rough disconnect where I felt like people, if I admitted it to people, if I admitted it to myself, I would just come off as a ungrateful prick, to be honest. And that created a real shift in me. And I created these systems that I implemented in my own life to help people earn back quality time, change their relationship with time, so they could achieve what they want and just enjoy life. And that sounds simplistic. I often call myself a productivity hacker. Yes, that's a real job. And people come to me wanting these quick productivity hacks. Yes, I give it to them. But what I really focus on is, how do you change your relationship with time? It's the most important relationship we have in our lives. There are people who will go and get relationship therapy for, their spouse, their parents, fix something that happened in their childhood, whatever it is. Sometimes friends need to get a little friend therapy over a drink. But oftentimes we need to change our relationship with time to get the life we really want. And so that is my practice. That is what I do. I'm obsessed with helping people enjoy the best life they can, because that's what I'm obsessed with doing about for myself. And that was a very long-winded introduction, but I hope it frames a little bit about why I'm here with you this morning or evening chatting.
You know what? That is by no means long-winded. And there was a few things I'm listening to you, but I actually feel, to sort of concur with what you said, that time is our most underrated resource, and yet it is the most fundamental resource that we have, because it's the one thing that we can't get back, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm listening to you, and I don't think there is anyone out there who's not going to be able to relate to this conversation, which is probably why I felt I wanted to share it a little broader, especially in this live format, because irrespective of where we are, whether it's our sort of career or whether we're running our own business or personal life, trying to juggle that finite resource for some of us is really challenging. Tell me, what was it specifically? Because I mean, it's unfair for me, because I know a little bit more than everyone else about, where you came from, your journey. You mentioned that you were a lawyer. Tell us a little bit about that, to give people context to understand, how you've arrived where you are.
Absolutely. So there was this night where I was lying in bed, and I'm one of those people that I will drop my phone on my face, like a complete embarrassing moment. And I'll be half asleep and I'll drop the cell phone on my face and look over and see if my spouse noticed or not. I was lying in bed and I could not relax. I could not sleep. And like every hour, every second kept going by. And I was thinking about everything I didn't do in that day. And then I kept thinking about everything I needed to do the next day. And I was literally living in this weird to-do list purgatory hell in my head. And I was anxious. And I'll admit, I was a little depressed. It was driving myself crazy. And there was this one night that I just couldn't sleep. Well, there were a lot of nights I couldn't sleep. But there was this one night in particular that I almost felt claustrophobic, thinking of all these things I was juggling, to use your term, because I used to be an amazing multitasker. I'm an MBA former attorney. I love getting things done. I love productivity. I'm addicted to doing stuff. I'm a type A, reformed. But this one night, I remember I was having this almost like mini panic attack of, oh my gosh, I have not done enough. I need to do more tomorrow. And I got out of bed and I went and sat at my desk and I etched out my time. And I ended up creating this structure that made me realize, wow, I'm touching too much stuff. I know, very scientific language here. I was touching too much stuff. I always thought that the more I multitasked, the more I could touch, the more I could do. You have your hands in enough cookie jars, you're going to eat a lot of cookies. Well, I don't like being overweight, but and I don't really eat cookies, but I love productivity. And I realized, okay, do I really need to be doing all of these things? Again, I'm going to use your term like juggle. Most people, I'm going to use myself as an example. I don't want to cliche talk about everyone. I want to talk about myself. I was doing too much stuff. My life had become this everything basket. It's like 2 a.m. in the story I'm telling you. And I'm looking down at this piece of paper because I literally did an inventory. Yes, I handwrote this. Wrote down everything I was touching. I did an inventory. I walk my clients through doing this example too. My time had become like an everything drawer. I don't know if you have one in your kitchen or if anyone watching has one. It starts with good intention. You put maybe a light bulb in it, a rubber band. The next thing you know, you have your neighbor's son's orthodontist pen. It's not even your orthodontist, but that pen's there for some reason. It's the everything drawer that just too much random stuff is in. My time became that way. And I think a lot of people do this unintentionally. We start cramming in a lot of stuff because it makes us feel good that we're doing things. But less is more. And I realized this 2 a.m. that night after having this mini anxiety attack. I literally took a big pen. Luckily, a pen is right here. And I started crossing stuff off. I don't know if anyone's ever seen Marie Kondo tidying up, where she asks you to clean out your closet and she tells you, I'm going to butcher this a little bit, ask yourself, does this item in your closet bring you pleasure or does it make you happy? And it's a very quick gut test of, do you get rid of it or not? How do you declutter your life? I decluttered my schedule. I started asking myself, are all these different things, the stuff clogging my time, is it actually giving me the life I want? And if the answer was maybe or no, I crossed it off. And I started refining this again and again and again. So it got so formulaic. I had earned back so much time in my life that I realized, whoa, my priorities were actually not what I thought they were. It was a gut check for me. Suddenly I went from multitasking, juggling all this stuff to feel momentum, to feel action, to having to have a really rough conversation with myself about what I really wanted, what my priorities actually were, not what I thought they were. And that was a very hard conversation to have with myself at that point, 3, 4 in the morning. But that night really changed so much of my life, changed my life as an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I own multiple businesses. I'm an investor. I'm a family woman. It changed the entire trajectory of my life. And I'm not saying, hey, if you're listening to this, maybe you've had an anxious night freaking out about your to-do list. Maybe you haven't. But raise your hand if you've ever had a moment where you felt like you were just doing lots of stuff. That changed me. And, as a broader picture here, I will not tell you all how old I am. It is early in the morning. It's been a pandemic, but I have spent most of my life trying to achieve more, do more, earn more, get more degrees, chasing that salary, that beautiful title. And I kept trying to do more and more. I'm located on the East Coast of the USA. And I grew up in certain circles where there was an obsession of more. You want more, you achieve more. And I'm not going to apologize. I know that sounds really superficial of me, but that was a large influence in the majority of my adult and young professional life. And I had to take a step back and wonder, what does more really mean for me? Once you define that, it completely changes how you use your time and what your time can be for. Life is way too short to be, like in my example, up at 3 a.m, freaking out about what you're juggling. Life is way too short for that. I'd rather be, sleeping or spending time doing things I love. And there is you do not have to overwork yourself to become successful. You do not have to be miserable to be successful. You don't have to struggle to be successful. I had to debunk all of that. And I know I'm rambling at this point, but that was really the pivotal moment in my journey, going from overworked, stressed out cliche to wait, there's something more here. And I have not looked back since.
There's a couple of things that I want to pull from there, but I think that the first one that was kind of standing out to me as you're talking is just this need for us to prioritize so many different things, probably all at the same level, even though maybe one's here and the other's down there, but prioritize all these things so that we can walk away with a sense of accomplishment. Granted, you would deal with a whole, sort of different mix of people. Do you feel that's a very female-orientated thing, or what do you think that is?
It's interesting you bring up the gender skew. I'm a woman entrepreneur. I work predominantly with a lot of female early stage entrepreneurs or side hustlers and traders. And it's interesting because I started off with, early in my career, I had a little bit of a superwoman complex, is what I like to call it. I felt like I had to, and I had mentors, and it's not their fault, it's not mine. It was a little bit cultured into me. I grew up in an age and was surrounded in an industry that was run by white men. And I was told by my mentors and groomed in a way where I was flat out told, Kash, you will always have to work harder to prove yourself. You will have to work more to show your worth. You will have to accomplish more to be put at the same level as people who don't achieve as much as you. When you're told these things again and again, it can put some blinders on you. That was my experience. But I work with a lot of women, and actually I'll take the term women out of it. I'll be gender neutral here. I work with a lot of amazing visionaries and leaders who feel like they have to do everything and can't delegate because I can do it better. That I can do it better. Or what will people think if I don't do this myself? Or what will people think if I don't accomplish X, Y, Z? Sometimes it's a number that we feel like we have to have as a salary. Maybe it's a car, living in a certain neighborhood. I get that one a lot. Working for a particular firm, I had that one a part of my life. I think that it's easy for me to say that as a woman, I was given a lot of cultural archetypes I felt like I had to live up to or break. But no matter what your gender, I will say that we all become a product of the narratives we believe. If we are raised thinking, here's the way it's supposed to be, here's what happiness is, here's what success means, we're probably going to spend a little bit of our lives believing that narrative and that we need to fit into that narrative. I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but I do believe this 100%. That makes it harder to break out of those narratives and write our own. A lot of my practice, for what it's worth, is, as much as I'm a productivity hacker, I work a lot on mindset. The mindset of managing your time is very different than just trading productivity hacks. Because we have to have the mindset of absolute control. I'm a control freak. I'm just going to say it right now. I hope everyone watching this gets on a little power trip and decides, I'm going to be control freak with my time today. Because if you're not a control freak with what your life is and what your time is, how you spend it, I guarantee you one thing. Your time, your emotions, the narratives in your life, circumstance, I'll blame it on circumstance, it is more of a control freak and it will control you. We need to control our time so time doesn't control us. We are not passive players in the story of our life. We are active players. And I've met a lot of women, since that was the original question, I've met a lot of women who have to break out of that. It's not, I see it less as a conscious, I am struggling with this. People rarely come to me and say, Kash, I'm struggling because I'm a woman and I don't know how to control my time. It's, I want something more and I don't know why I'm not achieving it. Or how do I stop burning out? How do I get to the next level? So, when I talk about time, people are like, time coach, real job. Okay, millennial. People tease it all the time, but I want everyone to become a control freak with the quality of their life. And I think that is so beyond gender, but I saw it for myself. I'm a gay Indian woman living in America who's a former attorney in a man's, I was a former healthcare attorney in kind of a man's practice. Oh yeah, no barriers there. So I get it. But I think that it becomes beyond gender, beyond economic status, beyond race, any ethnicity. I think it becomes, what are we letting control our life, and how do we break free so we create our own narrative, our own true narrative of what is our life? Let's write it, not read it, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. You know what I love that you communicated there, and it just continues to reinforce every time I am speaking to someone in this series, is that it ultimately comes down to our mindset. And it's easy for us who are sitting, say, on this side of the, of the screen, as opposed to the ones observing, to go, yeah, of course it is. That makes sense. But when you're living in it, we're not thinking about our time in that way. So I am grateful that you are giving people perspective, because if it was that easy to manage our time and gain this, quality of life, then we would all be living what I believe to be, the dream. But that's just not how it is. And I think that shedding some light that it's not all about to-do lists and process. And I'm like you, I love ticking boxes. I'm very process orientated, tick, 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 tick. But it's not as simple as that. So I appreciate you highlighting that for our audience. I wanted to ask you, and then I kind of lost my train of thought as I was, talking about that. One of the things, and I told you that this is the only session that I actually wrote something down.
I feel honored.
But it was just this concept around looking at what your priorities are. Looking at what is not a priority in your schedule, and then doing anything other than that. And for some reason I was like, now it kind of makes sense though, right? But I'd love a little bit of sort of, when it comes to prioritizing, what is it that you would focus on with people? And I don't necessarily need the process, but what do you talk to people about when you're prioritizing what's important?
That's a really great question. I'm going to give you the former attorney answer of, it depends. Such a lawyer answer here. But, it's interesting because when I work with people, oftentimes we think we know what our priorities are. And I'm not trying to diminish or demean anything by saying people don't know their priorities, but we usually know what our priorities are until we really know what they are. And when I coach people, I used to be one of those people that, built online courses and created all these systems till I realized, that's just doing disservice, because everyone is very different. Even though my methods are quite systematic and standard, they apply to different people in different ways. And when it comes to priorities, the way that we can attack our schedules, and actually this is something that everyone watching this can take away and implement today. I always challenge people of, okay, when you look at your to-do list, I want you to pretend it's a shopping list. A shopping list is amazing if you're going shopping because you need everything on those lists. But what a shopping list does is it's just listing things that you cross off. It's static. I bought apples. Are you buying apples to make applesauce? Are you buying apples to feed to a horse? It doesn't give anything dynamic of what that static task has to do with the rest of your life, what it has to do with your kitchen. It's just something that you're crossing out that it's done. But it doesn't take into effect, was it meaningful? It's just a list. When I think about I'll say the ailment and addiction to-do lists. I often say that to-do lists are this dysfunctional relationship because I encourage people to just break up with that. Just break up with your to-do list. Like, I will help you. The thing with to-do list is it just shows what you've done. Like, we were just talking about crossing things off. Well, what were you trying to get from doing that action? You know, you were going to send 10 emails because you need 3 new clients this week. Awesome. You sent 10 emails. Were they to all of your aunts or were they to your ideal client? Did you get a follow-up call? When you just cross something off your list, it's leaving out the most important part of our time. What did it give us? Did it give us the result that we wanted? So when it comes to figuring out your priorities, I think writing down tasks is like playing Jeopardy. I don't know if people watch Jeopardy in different parts of the world, but you're kind of putting an answer, but you still need the question. What result do I actually want? You've only given yourself part of the answer. Probably not the best analogy, but we really need to be asking ourselves, and with our priorities, figuring out, what are we trying to accomplish? If the goal is, this week, I am going to, actually, I'll use the client thing. If you need to sign 2 big accounts because you're a sales rep, how much money do those accounts need to be worth? Is it a $20 account? Or are we talking a $20,000, a $20 million account? If you're a real estate agent, are you trying to hit a certain sales quota? Do you need to sell, your $5 million home this, week? Is that closing this week? Let's get specific. Then we find the action, the meaningful action that gets us that priority. Do you see how I totally redid and blew apart that to-do list?
Yeah.
This does not happen overnight. I relate it to a muscle. I'm in a fleece because it's cold here right now, so you can't see my lacking muscles, but I do work out. But it's very much like working out a muscle. We are so used to thinking in terms of tasks that we have to unlearn that and start thinking from a place of action-based planning. I focus so much of my work and coaching on not just mindset and hacks, but how do you really create action plans? Action plans, unlike your to-do list, are actions. They're actions that lead to results, because I would encourage all of you today to think, or tonight, tomorrow, wherever in the world you are, if you've got some priorities and tasks, stuff you got to get done, ask yourself this, or next to your to-do list, if you haven't broken up yet, right? What is the result? What is the exact specific intended result that you want from that action? And then when you cross it off, or you're tempted to cross it off, ask yourself, did I achieve that result? If the answer is no, we need to replace the task with something else. We need to adjust. I said those lists, they're static. They're just sitting there. Our lives and time, it's dynamic. It's not just check the box. It's constant motion and propelling. What are we really driving at? Yes, there's still going to be some tasks that we just do because we got to do. But the majority of things in our life, they lead to other things. They lead to results. And I'm not just talking about business. I'm not just talking about your side hustle. I'm not just talking about what trades you're doing. I'm talking about life. This is something that becomes a system that you can imply as you've built your muscle. You've worked it out the first few times, it's sore, but then you're just strong and it becomes this involuntary motion for you that it changes the entire way you interact with your time. And so I know that I hope, all of you, when you approach whatever you're about to approach today, tomorrow, this week, think of that as you prioritize, maybe as you reprioritize what you're really focusing your time on. And I know that's a pretty lofty, strategy there. And, I work in the weeds with people on how to really flesh this out. But that is how you prioritize.
Yeah. Can I just say that's like the nugget there? I was listening to that, and you know what? It's funny because I've heard you tell us to break up with our to-do list, and then
I've been telling you for months.
Yeah, I know. It's like, and I can hear myself, and I'm like, wait, what am I saying? But you know what I'll pull from there, and I'll refrain from using jargon, but what is the return on your investment with any priority? That's what I was hearing from that. And that is absolutely like the crux of managing your time, right? And giving yourself that perspective to actually take a step back and really reevaluate the quality of that task. I know we're not using those words, but that, you know, what you're doing. What am I getting from this? Did I achieve that by doing this? Well, no, or yes, great. So really just having that perspective is the goal. Now, we both know it's not easy, so I love that you said it's building that muscle. Like with anything, right? I think we focus so much on building our physical muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not, but you know, we spend so much time building those kinds of muscles that having an opportunity to actually reframe that for people and give people perspective on what that quality looks like in all areas. I think that's really, really important.
And, you know, I just want to hammer this home.
Please.
Productivity, it's kind of a dirty word. We can be really productive, but get absolutely nothing accomplished. We can be super productive, but really be a hamster in a wheel. No offense to people who have hamsters. Wonderful. Awesome. Good for you. But are we actually getting anywhere? You know, and I think the real question is, are you getting where you want to be? We can, you know, earlier in this conversation, you kind of mentioned, living the dream. I love when people say, oh gosh, you're out of the rat race. You're living the dream. There have been so many times where I've thought, what dream are you talking about? This doesn't happen overnight. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, if it's your dream, what is that dream? Because there's a very big difference from this dream world that you've created for yourself in your head that you don't really want to make happen, but you like thinking about it. I think we all know what we're talking about. And what I call your ideal perfect day. We have to ask ourselves, what is our ideal perfect day? You know, why, when I said, yeah, I'll wake up at 5:30 in the morning and stream with you. Sure. I've done this, you know, for a lot of folks. I'm here with my coffee, hanging out. This is my ideal perfect day. I love waking up when the sun is still like trying to hit the snooze button. That's my happy place. Not for many people.
Yeah.
We have to ask ourselves, you know, if money wasn't an object, what would our day feel like? We can look at, you know, we can daydream about houses on Redfin or Realtor.com all we want, or whatever the equivalent is in your part of the world. But when we wake up in the morning, you know, what do our sheets feel like? Do we step out of bed and hit tile, hardwood, carpet? Do we hear the ocean? Do you go work out? Do you have dinner or breakfast with your family? Are you checking in on a computer in a home office? Are you going for a surf? If you can fill every moment of your ideal perfect day with what you would actually do, money wasn't an object, how would you really spend your time?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be honest with you. If you know what you want, what you really want, not just some pipe dream that you're telling yourself, but what you generally, truly want, then you can find a way to make that happen. You engineer the life to make that happen. But if there's misalignment, there's going to be a lot of frustration, misery, tension, productivity without really feeling like you're getting anywhere. Maybe even a lack of purpose at times. But so often we're obsessed. I'm going to call myself a crazy cliche American for a moment. We get so obsessed with movement that we forget where we're trying to go, because maybe we haven't asked ourselves where it is we're trying to go. I'm going to stop myself there because I do want to also point this out. It's okay if you don't know what you want in life. Life's a journey. I love enjoying the adventure of life. It's okay if you don't know exactly what you're trying to accomplish, exactly what you want your life to be. But I bet you that 99.9% of any of you watching this know more of what you want in life than you're admitting to yourself. And I'm going to challenge you. I'm taking over your stream right now. I want to challenge all of you. I've already told you to break up with your to-do list. Look at me bossing you around. I want you to do one other thing for me. Do actually for yourself. I'm going to challenge all of you watching this. Why I'm challenging you too. I've done this with you before, but I always love upping it whenever we chat. I'm going to challenge you to be unapologetic in the next 24 hours of your life about what you want. Don't dumb down a dream. Don't dumb down something you want. Don't water it down. Don't, make an undercutting kind of snide comment or joke about something that you really want because you don't think people will understand, or you think you might fail, or you worry that it won't happen the way you want. Just own it. Whatever that thing is for you, I want you to just own it, because there's probably something, in my experience, there's always something that we're still slightly unapologetic about. Or I'm sorry, we're still apologetic about. We should be unapologetic about. Once you open yourself up to that, here's the real key to success here. I'm going to save you thousands of dollars on therapy and coaches and all that stuff. I'm just going to give you the secret sauce. The universe isn't going to give you something that you haven't asked for. You got to ask for it to get it.
Amen.
So, I challenge all of you in the next 24 hours, what is something that you can just truly accept and say and admit unapologetically, yeah, that's what I really want. That might create a little perspective change, and it will change how you use your time. I guarantee you.
Oh, I needed this coaching session from you today.
I always got you why.
As I always say to you, whenever we sit down and chat, it's like the right time, right place, right content. And I know that there is so much in tonight's conversation that people can go and really just not only reflect on, but change up the way they think. And I hope that's what they take from this, because that's, definitely what I've taken. But to your point, it is a muscle, and we can't, sometimes we might need help. That's why coaches are fantastic. But I hope as well that people hear that there's so much more to these things than what meets the eye. I don't know if that made sense.
It made complete sense. And I actually live right now did a little click clacking, and I changed my name to schedulewithkosh.com, because anyone who's watching this, wherever this is streaming, wherever it's shared, you send it to your cousin's daughter's, fiance, whatever it is. If you want to just chat with me and be pointed in the right direction, or you need a gut check, or you want to figure out, okay, how do I figure this out? What is next? How can I do this? Whether you know what this is or not, you can go to schedulewithkosh.com and you can schedule, a quick strategy call with me, and let's talk it out. I'm happy to give you some tips. I'm happy to give you my time. Let me pay it forward. Let me give you some pressure testing on those priorities to your strategy. Let me help you walk away with one thing you can implement immediately. Whether you ever become a client of mine or not, take a quick tool. Let me help you write that relationship with time. So, I'm not going to drop my websites and stuff like that, but you can just go right there, schedule some time with me, and let me help you fix your relationship with time. That's simple. Yeah. Because there is, what's interesting is when I talk so much about time, people think, can't you just tell me how to block schedule my calendar or give me a software? And I'm like, well, sure, I guess I can do that. And I do. I help people with automation and delegation, and help people implement what I call a RAD schedule. What you got to remove, automate, delegate, do yourself. There are all these great tools, but you could have the best tools in the world. But what do you do with them if you don't know how you want your quality of life, your quality of time to be. It is holistic.
Yeah.
It is completely holistic. I mean, I'm a former practicing attorney. I guess I can't say I'm a former MBA. I'm always going to be an MBA. But it's interesting because time, it takes on these very interesting roles in our life in different professions. And as an attorney and even as a consultant, we bill in increments of, at one point I was billing people in increments of 7 minutes. People would get a monthly invoice from me, rounded to the 7-minute increments. So my time was literally put in. If any attorneys are watching this, you know what I'm talking about. Same with consultants. Our time was literally money.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it created this relationship with how I thought of time. And I had a mentor once who told me, Kash, you need to think of your family and your leisure time in terms of money as well. You need to treat your life, your personal life, like a client. And that always felt very awkward to me. It felt very awkward to me, but it works for some people. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I had to break up with my preconceived notions about time and my life. I come from a very type A community and surroundings. And when I started doing something that was a little bit out of left field, it was difficult. Sometimes people don't understand the journey you're on. And so this is one lesson I kind of want to impart. When we change things in our life, whether it's an approach, a system, whether you're switching from a Mac to a PC, there are changes we make that seem kind of awkward at first. But we get used to them because we realize, there's a reason I was making this change. This is such an oversimplification, but I want to magnify this out. The first step is you making the change. No one makes change unless they want to make change. People don't wreck their comfort zone for shits and giggles. Sorry for cursing on your stream. But you have to know, do I actually want something different? If you don't, then you're probably not listening to this stream, I'll be honest. But you want change. What is it that you want? It's okay if the answer is I want something different. I wanted a different relationship with time. I wanted to not be stressed out as a professional all the time. I wanted to feel like success was meaningful in my life. I wanted to have control over the quality of my time, the quality of my family's time. I wanted to have control in a very different way in my life, to feel free. That was my journey. I'm not going to say that that's yours because I don't know you. I don't know you. But whatever you want, if it requires change, if it requires a tweak is still change. You have to commit to it first. You have to say, I know that I want something else. I want a next level. It's okay if you don't know the way. But there are people like myself, so many countless resources out there to show you the blueprint. You do not have to reinvent the wheel because I guarantee you, someone out there has done it. So, I guess my third challenge for everyone today, I'm just loading you guys up, is
load them up.
Don't feel like you need to go and reinvent the wheel out on your own. There are so many resources and people who will cut your learning curve in half. So why not do it? There is nothing selfish or wrong or like cheating by having someone help you become the better version of you. Boom. Why would you not?
Yeah.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Let us cut your learning curve so that, I'll speak for myself why I won't put the words in your mouth, but I don't want anyone to spend their nights stressed out the way I used to. I would love to help more women, more entrepreneurs, more side hustlers, more whoever you are.
Yeah.
Enjoy your life and not become that cliche entrepreneur the way I was. I'll just say, don't become that cliche. I want to help more people become the best version of themselves, live their best self. So take the blueprints from all of us out here in these communities. Why you run an amazing community. You give so much value. Like, cut your learning curve in half. I want you to steal all of our secrets. That's why we're here. So please do it. I wish I had known that advice much earlier in my life, to be very honest.
Amen to that. I've got to say, my perspective has shifted for obvious reasons, but shifted so much because I think, knowing myself, grew up having to, it was rewarding to think that you knew it all, when in reality I didn't know anything. I mean, I knew a lot, but I look back now and I'm like, wow, I really knew nothing. And we're almost afraid to ask for help, but whether you're reading a book or you're listening to a podcast or you're doing all those things, that's getting help. You might not be proactively asking for it. But now, like you said, I love that. We do want to give away our stuff, because what's the point in knowing all this stuff if we can't do anything with it? So it's pay it forward. And, in return, people can take that knowledge as well and pay that forward as well. Right?
Absolutely. I know I'm a woman of many stories. Last night, I was watching some gymnastics on TV. I was just going through the channels, and gymnastics was on. I think it was, trials for maybe the Olympics, whatever it was. I was watching these amazing, super young, these gymnasts are so young in the US. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, the dedication you have to figuring out your craft, becoming one of the best in the country, the best in the world. You have an amazing, amazing dedication to yourself.
Yeah.
But you have an amazing trust in the coaches that get you there too. Because even the best talent in the world, the best genius, still have coaches.
Yeah.
I have a coach, and I'm a coach. Why? I don't know if you have a coach too, but
yes.
Some of the best people out there, coaches have coaches too. The gymnasts have coaches.
Yeah.
The Olympians have coaches. I don't see it so much as asking for help.
Yeah.
I see it as, how do I get to the next level? Because I am dedicated to getting there. I don't really see my job as helping people. Yes, I do help people, but I see it as, when I'm working with someone, I don't really think of them as my clients. I think of them as, you know what? I'm going to show up for you 200% because I want to see you crush this.
Yeah.
That's my job. And I'm addicted to that. And so I was watching, these gymnasts last night thinking, oh my gosh, what a circle of just dedication to the next level. So whatever your next level is, if you feel hard or weird about the idea of asking for help, don't ask for help. Ask for the blueprint so you can crush whatever it is you want to crush and do it. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I think you have added, I know you've added so much value. And I hope, firstly, that people do take heed of your, hack your schedule, get in touch, because you've already added so much value. I was taking some notes down. I'm like, yes, because, and I'll say this again, but you've given me a whole new perspective, and I'm hoping that I will allow that to kind of wash over me, to your point, in the next 24 hours. But yeah, I like being unapologetic. I like asking for the blueprint, and I like really going, what is it that we want? What is it that you want? Whatever it is, it doesn't even matter what it is, right? It could be a better, quality time with your loved ones. As far as spending time with my son, because I'm in a co-parenting, family, it's all about quality time, not quantity time, because I don't have that privilege. But we really should look at our whole life that way. I think that's the biggest takeaway from today's session is looking at, okay, this is all about quality time. And even if it's whatever it is, that I reevaluate my relationship, not just with that, time, but with myself and what I want to gain from it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've gotten is, what is my return on investment from doing all of these things? And getting rid of that to-do list, the never-ending tick, 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 which people like me love. But yeah, like I think to your point, it's about a sense of accomplishment rather than if I do these 100 things that might drive me insane, at least I've accomplished something, even though I might not have accomplished what I set out to that day. So I'm hoping people got that from today.
I hope so. And take me up on my offer.
Absolutely.
Go to schedulewithkosh.com. Let me give you a blueprint. Let me give you a few tools. Chat with me. Take my skills. Like I told you, I want you to take them. And get to that next level. Cut your learning curve in half. Because oftentimes, even just implementing one change can make drastic differences and impact in our lives. So imagine what 2 changes can do. But sometimes just one change. We're often just a small shift away from what we really want in life. We just got to figure out what that small shift is. And it's not throwing spaghetti at the wall. The blueprints are there. And, I'm so thrilled that we could chat this morning, this evening, whatever time of day it is, because I always loved speaking with you.
Yeah, I do too. And I really appreciate the value that you have added to the audience, I was going to say this evening, but whenever they watch it. Thank you so much for adding so much value. I know that I was taking notes and I get to talk to you. I've got access. But, yeah, I think always be willing to learn, always be open to adapting, taking tools, trying and testing. But one of the things that I really just want to pull out of this whole conversation today is really just that relationship with our mindset, firstly, and how that relates to the quality of, our time. Because, to your point, it's not about slaving over a to-do list that doesn't actually help us move the needle, whether it be in our business or whether it be, in our family life. But I know, Kash, and it can be quite confronting, right? When people go, oh, wait, you want me to move away from the safety of this list?
It's a journey. Like this it doesn't happen overnight. You can implement a quick, productivity hack. That can be I call them low-hanging fruit. There are a lot of low-hanging fruit that gets us back time in our schedules, in our lives. But there are long-term impacts and changes that at the end of the day, quick satisfaction is great. But when we're talking about the quality of time of our life, we got to think about what is going to really make an impact on our life, not just that felt good to check off. And that really is an analogy for what life do you want for yourself? What life do you really want for yourself? Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. As I always say, and I've said it throughout this session, but I always enjoy talking to you. I enjoy hearing your perspective, and I'm really grateful of, for all that value that you've just given to everyone. And, I'll say it again, but I encourage people to connect and take you up on your offer. And, that's one of the great things about having created this series is that, yes, I get the opportunity to speak to people that I enjoy talking to, but it's always about adding value and about showcasing someone and their superpower whom we might not otherwise meet. And, we could be a slave to that hamster wheel. I use that analogy myself. Or we could just go out and find someone who's done it before and shortcut that process. I'm all down for shortcutting process.
So am I.
Awesome. Well, thank you. If you're watching this live, I appreciate that you've taken the time to sit down with us, or this evening or this morning or whenever you get the opportunity to watch this. And if you're watching it on replay, Kasha's details will be there, and I'll also be adding some links as well so that you can connect. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. Thank you all for giving us your time today.
Absolutely.